Welcome everybody on D365 SOX Compliance. Let's make your finance and operations SOX compliance application. My name is Bartosz Pich. I'm product manager for XPlus for the last close to 9-10 years. I've been doing finance and operations, AX, and so forth. We've been working with multiple customers, each continent, big ones, small ones, but there was something in common on the big ones. D365 and actually Dynamics had troubles to make the application SOX compliance. We've been investigating that for years. We've been building solutions to make it possible. And last years, we also do projects to do SOX compliance for our end customers. I'll walk you through today through what is SOX compliance, what actually you need from the finance and operation perspective, to give you some basic understanding what needs to be done in order to get SOD-free roles, in order to get that baseline for SOX compliance, and then make possibility to work with finance and operations on companies noted on NASDAQ, NYSE, and soon on LSE and other stock markets. So through the agenda, we're going to walk through segregation of duties, excessive accesses management, audit trail, temporary role assignment, termination procedure, 30-60 rule, governance and processes, including role creation procedures, access provisioning, and so forth. The governance will be something we're going to talk a little bit, but governance is much broader. There are multiple processes to be accommodated in the organization and well described and so forth. But today's session, once again, will be focused on F&O. So to give you a better understanding what is SOX compliance, the SOX compliance, the Sorbon and OXI, these are actually multiple rules which needs to be deployed in the organization side in order to simply prevent frauds, in order to make a lot of documents and proofs that you are working legally and you are preventing some potential financial losses and all possible security vulnerabilities, which are required to be noted on the biggest stock markets. So we mean by this NYSE, NASDAQ, LSE, and so forth. But don't think that this is only US, because multiple companies are embedded in the United States, but they have different legal entities spread across the globe. And these smaller legal entities, they have to incorporate SOX compliance as well, because they are from the mother entity noted on the stock market. So let's start with SODs, segregation of duty, simple saying, these are the rules that you have to define in your ERP system to make sure that one activity that you perform will be not matched with the other one, that in combination can make potential fraud, potential financial loss. What I mean by this, let's say edit vendor bank account and make bank transfer. If I have those two elements, those two access rights, I got kind of a superpowers. I will be able to take and send somewhere else this bank transfer. But of course, there are multiple other elements, like editing some settlements, and again, creating customers. You'll be able to match some specific processes and again, make defraudation. So we can think about different combination of processes, but at the end of the day, you can think about SOD as a matrix where on the X line, on X-axis, you have your processes, and on the Y-axis, you have processes, and you are matching what can't be matched with each other. Those rules, they are allocated in your finance and operations. And then anytime you're allocating new role into the user or you're extending the user roles, system is validating if my account is violating the SOD rules. And there are two options. Either you're going to allow those violations, because there are exceptions like CFOs, general accountants, people which are having significant access rights, significant privileges in the organization, and sometimes we will just keep them on list which are not allowed. So we simply say this person cannot do that. We have to modify the process in that case. that person called CFO, general accountant, they have excessive access. So there are another mitigation controls that we have to have in place to make sure that those super users will not do defraudation as well. So there is a whole module in finance and operations for fraud protection and module for auditing. There are multiple other components aside of the ERP system which are helping you to build your finance and operations SOX compliant. Going further, let's say your ERP system works today perfectly, but in the evening, some journal just crashed. I'm not able to post it. And I have to do trial balancing soon. I need to calculate the final results of the quarter. We need to publish some statements into the market, so forth. There is a fire in the application. Multiple places, multiple things can happen. So typically we ask a contractor, our partner, to come in to finance and operations, fix it out, and log out. In that moment, when this is just a company a company which doesn't have those rules for SOX compliance, they are not required to do the procedure of firefighting or excessive emergency access right definition. They will just invite somebody with hyper access, system admin access, they will perform that fixed activity and they will log out. In SOX compliance, you need to make sure that you are defining why you are inviting somebody with system admin or with high access rights. You are defining when, from, to, so precise deadline, precise timing when they're going to perform the firefighting activity. And then you have to monitor each and every step they perform in finance and operations in order to tell the auditor, okay, they fixed our journals, they've posted that, so the problem solved, fire extinguished, but then I need to make sure that when they were doing that, they accidentally didn't went to the other room and took our vulnerable data, some pricing, some margins, and they will then distribute that to the market. Because this could do for us some value, some defraudation, some losses. So we want to prevent that. We have the report from moment of login to moment of log out, what they perform, how they fix the system, and then we are closing the firefighting activity. That's kind of the concept, what you have to do when this is the firefighting. Another element of that whole compound or whole entire SOX compliance would be a security audit trial. We need to make sure that we understand what is done in the system, which means if we have an amount of users who had the role on specific day, I mean by this, if there is a new role allocated for the user, I need to know that. I need to know if it was a specific entity, when this was done, by whom it was done, if there was a change to the role itself, if it was a change to the duty itself, I need to know that and I need to prove it. Why this is needed? Simply when something bad is happening in the organization and we are trying to go back step by step what actually was done. If I will see that April, in our previous examples, did some defraudation, I need to validate why the person had access to the system, such broad access. And I will see then on the audit trail that on that moment, the access was elevated by person X to that specific entity. So we have the evidence of some defraudation. So we are able to do logging to understand and explain to the auditors what exactly was happening in the system. So that from the perspective of role allocation, but in case somebody took our sales representative role and for 3 hours, they just added their multiple hundreds of new duties and then they delocated that. So for 3 hours, we're gonna have sales representative with super high access rights. So the audit trail concept needs to solve that. We need to know that for that several hours or several minutes, there was a significantly higher access rights on that specific person or that specific role itself. So these are examples. Of course, the audit trail is very broad. You can define for very critical system configuration. You can do database logging to make sure that somebody changes that, you are able to backtrack that. So everything to prepare data for audit. Then we have temporary role assignment. Imagine that we have April and Kelly. April is on sick leave. Something bad happened, she is in the hospital, and we have to find some replacement. Somebody needs to take the same duties. Kelly right now is performing another position, another stuff in the system, and I need to have the process which will define the situation, define that somebody is on the sick leave, that Kelly is right now fitting the processes for April. So we're gonna switch, or we're gonna swap or merge the responsibilities, and for end days, so we're gonna define the period, we have that temporary or interim role assignment. After April will come back, this whole process will be reversed. So Kelly will not longer have those permissions. So there has to be a register where you define that. There has to be a process of delocation and allocation of roles to make sure that, again, if the person has a very broad access, we'll know that they have that access because of the temporary role assignment. User termination procedure. That's another element, and you can do that simple exercise. Go to your users and find out if there is somebody who is not logging in for last 30 days. And that will be a very nice cleanup activity, because you'll be able to simply delocate some users which are not using system. So you're gonna save licenses, but also you'll make sure that the system is used in the correct way, correct capabilities. We've seen multiple situations where SOX compliant didn't need that rule, didn't need that definition of user termination when they reach 30 days, they do deactivation, and 60 days delete. But some organizations are very picky, very selective, and they need to make sure that in ERP, you have only people which are working right now on full contract, full employment. I mean that by this, they are logging in frequently the system, maybe not day by day, but in a reasonable amount of time. If we have that big gap of 60 or 90 days, those brackets are for you. You can define multiple other brackets. Then you can build additional rule for this. 30 days or 60 days, we're gonna deactivate the account. So they will be not able to log in anymore. They will need to go to the system admin. They're gonna ask system admin, please, I'm back from, I don't know, from holidays, sick leave or something. And then this account will be activated. If they're gonna be not in the system for 100 days, you can delete or actually do some other steps in an Active Directory, an Entra ID right now. So this process helps you that kind of a hygienic way of working with the users to make sure that only people which should be in the system, they have the proper access rights. And finally, governance and processes. You'll be able to define with Auditor multiple of those. From top of my head, we've been just defining some baselines. We might create another video focused only on the governance. Stay tuned for quick walkthrough and interview with one of the greatest auditors on Southern Hemisphere. We've been working with multiple of those, but this one will be pretty interesting. So we're going to talk more about the governance itself. But here, focusing on the governance, you need to have the role creation procedure. So we've been working with one of the biggest auditor, one of the big four, we can say. It was clear for us that when you were building a role design for your organization, it is great to have your baseline or identification why your role looks like this. So when you build the role, work with business, make an evidence why this role has this specific access. So you have documents describing business processes and responsibilities, And then when auditor comes and they're going to say, okay, but why the sales manager role has such a broad access? Because of X, Y, Z. So you are able to give them specific proofs that the role was designed in purpose in that wide spectrum, even though it might be in the sales manager some SOD violation. We have a proof that it is like that. And then auditor can say, all right, but we are not feeling comfortable with this. So you might need to split responsibilities from sales manager and have somebody who perform only that activity. Of course, at the end of the day, SOX compliance needs an auditor. So the auditor will give you multiple processes and entire governance and the requirements from your finance and operations to be incorporated, so you are able to work legally with Microsoft Dynamics. Access provisioning. So another process to make sure that when you are allocating the roles, when you are creating the account in finance and operations, that needs to be in place. You need to have full awareness why people are having the specific access. So working with HR to make sure that what position has what row, what position in Finland and Sweden, they're going to have specific variation of roles because they have a lot of specifics. It is good to define these variations to make sure that, again, you can explain why in Germany and France, sales managers, they have one role, and in Finland and Switzerland, they're going to have additional role because of the local specifics, local variations or local requirements. That is something we've seen, it is working pretty well. Security policies, and that is something which we're going to do. Just note that this is required, but since this is a very broad element that this actually exceeds F&O, I'll keep it aside. And mitigation controls, simply prevention. So it is good to define some metrics. It is good to define ways how you are validating on the day, how many users you have versus the workers, how many entities versus roles, kind of to measure, keep some KPIs which are building you understanding how secure we are, how many system admins are defined in your finance and operations, how many externals are working in your finance and operations, how many users are mapped to the workers, employees, to get that understanding. Then you are able to make sure that the data is accurate, that I'm able to tell that this user has that access, they are actually working on this position, that email. You are just matching multiple data, matching dots to make sure that the data is accurate and simply secure. That was a sneak peek. That was just sharing the knowledge about SOX compliance. We're gonna record a few more of those sessions, but if you would like to have more in-depth validation, if you would like to have some consultancy on the SOX compliance, work with us and our auditors, with partners which are having also auditors, we are able to help you out to make your finance and operations SOX compliant. We've seen very nice implementations where our customers were receiving the SOX compliance status and they are able to legally work within the stock markets of NSE and IC and NASDAQ. So that is possible, but you have to have necessary toolset, you have to have some processes and a partner which will walk with you to the end of the project. So stay tuned for multiple other videos regarding the interviews and SOX compliance, and see you soon.